Good morning. My name is Michelle Hilton. And before I begin, I'd like to thank WGU for the incredible opportunity to speak today and share my story. This is dedicated to the memory of my mom and dad. As master's degree graduates, we've all worked incredibly hard to get to this moment in our journeys. We're transitioning from being considered a trained undergraduate to being viewed as a qualified expert in our fields. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm having some emotions about that, okay? Now that we've got this apparent authority, we're gonna go out into the workforce and do great things. There's gonna be some days that we sail through, others will be a little more difficult. Eventually, we're gonna be asked to do something on the job that we've only ever performed during our coursework. We won't have our CIs or our mentor to reach out to for advice. Gosh, just saying that out loud is giving me heartburn. In those moments, panic is likely to set in. That's okay, I say let it. Maybe you'll be working on something at work and you just can't seem to get it right, and in that moment, frustration will set in. That's okay, I say let it. Now, we're not immune to anger either, we're just humans, so when that happens, let it in. I think we've all heard the adage that goes, you may not be able to control every situation, but you can control your reaction to it. Well, a few years ago, I learned the 30-second rule to quickly cope with these types of feelings. Using the 30-second rule, you allow yourself to feel that panic, lean into your frustration, and experience your annoyance for 30 seconds. Now, I've come to recognize that the pearls of wisdom evoking the greatest impact are those that we experience compared to those that we learn reading a textbook or listening to a lecture. The most enduring lessons are the ones that we feel. I learned the 30-second rule by experience. I will never forget that day. We had just pulled up to see our new apartment after driving 28 hours. My phone rang and I saw it was my dad. But when I answered, I knew something was wrong. My dad told me that he was being admitted to the hospital and handed the phone to a doctor. I found out that my dad had begun to bleed from his lungs and that the doctors needed to intervene immediately to save him. They contacted me because I was his healthcare proxy, and they told me I should come home. Now, at the time, I'd been a nurse for over 10 years, and I knew that I was headed home to say goodbye. I called my little sister in Arizona and told her to meet me at Dad's in New York. Just 10 short days later, my sisters and I would lose our dad and become orphans. Now, thinking back to Valentine's Day 2019, my younger sister Sarah and I were with my dad when they took him off the ventilator. He struggled to be intentional with his breathing and concentrate on the inhale and the exhale. My dad was used to being in control, so this was really frustrating for him. For the first few days off of the ventilator, he was frequently dismayed by his situation, knowing that the outcome was completely out of his control and that his outcome was poor, or that his prognosis was poor. He was stubborn, angry, and even got a little bit mean. During one challenging moment when he felt frustrated and out of control, his entire demeanor had changed, like a switch had been flipped. His approach softened, and he seemed almost joyful. It was a sharp contrast from him swearing at the nurse and giving her the finger about 5 minutes ago. So I said, okay, Dad, what gives? Are you having memory issues or what? And he just bellowed, 30 seconds at me. And then he said something I will never forget. He said, Michelle, I'm dying. I know that I'm dying. I might have just a few days left. I'm upset that I'm just now recognizing how little time I have left and how much of my time I've wasted being upset over things I can't control. He said, I'm putting a new rule in place. He said, I'm not allowing myself any more than 30 seconds to feel these things from now until the end. Any more than 30 seconds is time wasted not enjoying my last moments alive with my kids. And you kids are more important to me than being angry. I felt that. Now, it took me a while to realize, but he had said the same thing that we've all heard a bunch of times. You may not be able to control every situation, but you can control your reaction to it. Dad had phrased it differently, but he gave me a practical way to use the advice. The poignancy of that situation filtered my perception and imprinted upon me an everlasting appreciation for the preciousness of time. I experienced a sensation of wisdom that comes only from a life lived. My dad gave me his best gift in his last days. Today, I pass my dad's gift along to you. In the coming weeks, as we celebrate the culmination of our master's degree and the beginning of new life stages, we will find ourselves in a sea of emotions. I challenge you to practice this 30-second rule. I encourage you to recognize the moments when you feel difficult emotions and thoughts and allow them no more than 30 seconds of your precious time. We all know that time flies. Michael Altschuler, renowned speaker, pointed out the good news is that we are the pilots. We determine our navigation and our approach. So let in that panic, that frustration, that anger, because in 30 seconds, it will all be a memory. Thank you.